Good morning.
Morning.
I would like to welcome each and every one of you to the 67 CEOs Mandela Day program, Inspire Possibility Thinking. And we cannot do but to start by appreciating God. And we have my pastor in our midst. His name is Pastor David Adeleke. Please let's rise up on our feet and put our hands together for him as he gives us an opening prayer. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I believe we're all appreciative of the fact that we are alive this morning. So we'd like to give the glory to whom is due by appreciating him, thanking him for the gift of life. Amen. Amen. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this moment. We thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for the will be in our midst throughout this. We will inspire the spirit of wisdom into us. And at the end of the day, we'll have every cause to give you all the glory. Thank you in Jesus' mighty name.
Once again, you're all welcome. My name is Sam Akpata, and I am the privileged founder of 67 CEOs. And what inspired 67 CEOs, and specifically the mantra, Inspire Possibility Thinking, and blessed memory, President Nelson Mandela also said, it always seems impossible until it is done. It always seems impossible until it is done. And if we look at that quote very well, there are, personally I've been able to kind of like figure out 4 keywords, 3 or 4 keywords in that particular quote of late Nelson Mandela. One word, the first word rather, is always. The second word is impossible, and the third word there is done. As long as a human being thinks he cannot do something, he won't be able to do it. And when you think that it is possible for you to achieve whatever it is that you want to, you definitely will be able to achieve that. And that is what late Nelson Mandela instilled in us, that we should think possibility. I believe, it must have taught possibility. Yes, there are other parameters and other things that surround him spending 27 years in prison. But, something must have told him, there must be a drive, there must have been a drive inside of him that, told him and made him know that he could do it. And, possibly he achieved that. So that's the reason why we are gathered here today. We have a lineup of esteemed facilitators that are going to be inspiring possibility thinking in us.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Yeah, like Spusiso said, my name is Lindsay van der Bijl. I'm originally from the Eastern Cape. But in terms of time, I want to keep it very short because I've been asked to cram 3 years into 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. So basically, what I'm about, I'm a social entrepreneur. I remember in 2011, I went home to the Eastern Cape because things wasn't going well. Came back, I was staying in Roodepoort with a friend. We started a business. The business didn't go too well. Him and his wife had issues. He kicked me out of the house. I then put all the bags and the clothes that I had. I walked from Westgate side up until the Mandela Bridge. And on the Mandela Bridge, I told myself I just had enough. I didn't want to be a burden unto anyone. Nothing that I do is coming to fruition. So I decided that I'm going to take my life. I wanted to commit suicide on the bridge. So knowing what the train schedules are like, I knew that the last train leaves Park Station for Soweto at 8 o'clock in the evening. And this was around 5 past, 10 past 8. And I sat on the bridge and I said that to make sure I don't hurt myself, that I actually kill myself. I'm going to wait for the train to come and then jump in front of the train and let the train finish me off. But anyone who's ever traveled in those trains know that it's the most unreliable mode of transport. The train never came. And I got tired of waiting. And I picked my bags up and I left. So as I was walking, I had a thought about what it was that I wanted to do. And honestly, I don't know if you have someone close to you that has committed suicide. But my personal view of it is it's extremely selfish. It's selfish in the sense that had I gone ahead with the plan and then I died, someone would have taken my clothes on top of the bridge and in that bag had my iPad and my laptop and stuff. And someone would have probably been arrested and went to jail under the pretense that, or under the allegation that they pushed me down the bridge. So when you want to take your life and you say that I'm going because I want to give the people behind a better life. You're not actually doing it. You're putting them, some people that you are leaving behind are going to have to go into debt to bury you and stuff like that. So when things are bad, don't give up. It's a phase that you are going through. And I remember after that I started doing motivational speaking at schools. And this is where the idea came about. Because DJ Spoo is my personal mentor and he's played a role, a massive role in who I am today. And he told me that in order for you to stand out, you need to do something wow. And me being a previous provincial representative, so I did athletics and cross country for Eastern Cape, for KZN, as well as border. I knew that whatever it was that I was going to do had to include something physical, a physical exercise. Apart from that, it needed to include reading, because reading is extremely important. I'm able to speak English today because of reading. I remember I grew up speaking Afrikaans at home, and the second language that I was taught was isiXhosa. And my isiXhosa was taught by the lady that worked at home. So my granny instructed her to speak Xhosa to me, and then when my granny comes back from work, we then start speaking Afrikaans. So I was then registered into an English class, not being able to speak English. And I was sitting in this class and I was just going, and back in those days, anyone, even if they were poor at home, anyone who spoke English was a cheese boy. You were in a different league just because you could speak English. And I remember I needed to go to the toilet, and I was like, "Juffrou, kan ek toilet toe?" And the teacher like, "Speak English in my class." And I'm like, "Can you please ask the teacher?" And the teacher was like, "No, let him speak himself." But because I couldn't, I had to calculate the distance from my desk to the door and from the teacher's desk to the door, and I just ran out. But when I came back, the teacher insulted me. But I was like, oh well, because I couldn't speak English, I didn't understand at that point in time what she was saying. But I saw that the whole class was laughing at me, and I just thought, no, this can't be good. But anyway, the day went on, the following day I was registered into an Afrikaans class. So that's where reading started for me. I started reading. Every subtitle that appeared on TV, I asked questions. How do you say this word? Any newspaper I would pick up and go to my granny, wat meen die? Wat beteken die? And as a result, in Sub A, I read Sub B books. Sub B, I read Standard 1 books. In Standard 1, there was no more books for me to read. But the brilliant thing was that by Standard 1, I taught myself how to speak English through the little piglets and Papa Bear and Mama Bear. And because of that background, what reading had done for me, I decided, okay, you know what, let me do this something wow, which was me cycling from Pretoria to Cape Town on a bicycle. And the idea came in 2013. 2014, I asked myself, what if I had just gone ahead with this thing? 2015, I'd asked myself, what if I just did it? And for those 2 years, it was just fear and doubt that triumphed. But when it came towards the end of 2015, I was like, I'm sick and tired of this what if. This year I'm doing it. Whether I'm going to do it alone or not, I'm going to do it. So towards the December of 2015, I went to Botswana because I said, I don't want to be with anyone who knows me. I want to go there where no one knows me so I can focus on myself. I ended up in Botswana in Gaborone. I was there for a whole month working out. The nice thing was I had Wi-Fi where I was. So I went actually on the internet. I went to, I'll mention the name, I went to a company called Adidas. I took all the nice things that I saw that I would need, and I took pictures of it. I posted it on a PDF document. I wrote a sponsorship letter to Adidas, and then it went. In January, I did a follow-up. They came back and said, it's a great initiative, they are interested in it. And that was false hope, ladies and gentlemen. It was false hope because they led me on. But I was never angry at them because it's that false hope that pushed me to where I was today. Because I kept on saying, if the second largest sportswear manufacturer in the world can give me a thumbs up for an email that I sent, the one-page email, then surely I'm on to something. And it went on. About a month before the time, I was like, hey, following up on that package that you promised me. And no one was returning my messages, my calls. But by then I'd already made up my mind to say, whether I'm going to do this alone or whether I'm going to do it with sponsors, I'm going to do it. I went on the 3rd of July last year on ENCA, which is a continental news channel. I was in the morning there, and the sports anchor was asking me, so Lindsay, when do you leave? And I was like, no, leave tomorrow morning from the Union Buildings at 7 o'clock. And then when I got home, everyone was like, you don't even have a bike. So I was like, I walk by faith and not by sight. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to do something, I think the biggest thing for us, the biggest challenge as entrepreneurs is not funding. Funding is not because if you get funding that you didn't work for, you're going to end up buying cars that you didn't like, that you didn't want, that you don't deserve. So what I did was all Sam, Smusiso, a whole lot of the guys that I knew, I used the resources that I had, the guys that were in the same entrepreneurship class as me, and I was like, guys, now I didn't go as a beggar, I went as an advertiser. I said, guys, 500 Rand, I'll advertise your company for you. I'm cycling from here to Cape Town. I'll let the people know that you contributed. And within 6 hours, I managed to raise 9,000 Rand. The bicycle that I needed to buy was 12,500 Rand, and they had dropped it down to 8.5. So I was like, what am I going to eat? Where am I going to sleep? So I just decided, you know, I'm going to eat my vision and I'm going to drink my dream. And in closing, I was supposed to leave on the 4th of July last year. And on the 4th of July, it so happened that DJ Smoo started his own radio show. So I went for support to his show and decided, okay, with this 9,000 Rand that I have here, I'm going to go buy the bicycle, go to Union Buildings and start cycling. And he got there and he asked me, how, aren't you leaving today? And I said, yes. And he was like, where's the bicycle? So I was like, no, I'm going to go buy the bike now. He's like, you're buying a bicycle? What you buying a bicycle for? So I'm like, yeah, no one wanted to sponsor me. I've been sending emails, sponsorship emails for 6 months. And I just decided I'm going to do it on my own. He then said, no, who's this that wants money from you? We are going there now. And when we got in the car, he was like, are there black people working there? And I was like, yes, there are, but they're not in management. So he looked back and he's like, Lindsay, answer the question. Are there black people working there? And I was like, yes, there are. I was like, that's all I wanted to know. Ati, watch and learn. Ati, I've worked so hard on my brand that I don't believe there's any black person in this country that doesn't know me. So just watch what happens. We walked into a bicycle shop on Bayesnodia called Northcliffe Cycles. And as we walk in, all the workers run from where they are. And it's like, spoo, selfie, selfie, selfie. And now obviously the white people are watching what's going on here. What's happening? So now, after that introduction, he then comes and he says, okay, Lindsay's a guy that I've been mentoring for the last 3 years. He's got this dream. He's only got 9,000 Rand on him, and I'm not going to allow him to use all that money to buy a bike and not have nothing to eat or no money for accommodation along the way. So let's help him. Let's barter. I give you advertising on my radio show and on my TV show. You give him the bike. If you don't want to give him the bike, charge him half price or borrow him the bike and he brings it back if you're not happy with the exposure that he's giving you. And I'm trying to kick him to say, I don't want to bring the bike back. And he's like, no, wait. As we leave, so before we leave, they say, okay, let us as a company discuss it and then we'll come back to you. So this is the 4th of July. I've got companies like Leaders A and a whole lot of other companies that are already tweeting. Shout out to Lindsay, it's his first day on the road. And I'm saying, I'm not touching the social media, I'm not posting nothing. And I'm waiting. 10 past 5 o'clock, they haven't called me. 10 to 6, the phone rings. 011. Okay. Hi Lindsay, how's it? It's Kurt from Northcliffe Cycles. You came into our store earlier today. Look, we've made a decision. We're going to loan you a bike. The bike is better than the one that you were going to buy. We'll do all the mechanical work so you can come pick it up tomorrow morning. This is the 4th. I'm supposed to have left. So then I go onto my Twitter and I type there, had mechanical difficulties with the bike. Days when I picked up the bike, and lucky I had a friend who had a bus, so we just put the bike in the bus. Guys gave me a cycling kit, gave me socks, gave me all that they could, and then we left. And my friend is a Muslim guy, so it was during the fasting month, and he followed me from Union Buildings, and he only turned around when we got to Vereeniging. So from there, what he did was, and this is a secret, he gave me a little pocket knife and he says, I know you're not about this life, but you might need it along the way. And I took that and I cycled from there, and my first stop was in Sasolburg. But the rest of the journey I'm busy covering in my book. And I also don't want to take too much. It's quite an intriguing journey, but I don't want to take up too much time. But I want to just touch on a few things that happened along the way. I almost suffered frostbite twice. So I cycled alone with no backup vehicle, with half gloves in the middle of winter. So that's July, and I'm in the Free State. If I had to go I had arrived in Paris at 10 past 1. If I had to continue cycling till about maybe 1:30, I would not have had these 2 fingers. So I'm saying sometimes in life, people are supposed to find you on the way. And because they're not starting with you, doesn't mean what you have is not working. It just means you must start alone. On that same journey, I almost got robbed twice. And sometimes the thing of racial profiling, I'm also guilty of it. So a week before I left, we had said, oh, no, Cape Town, white people are so racist and whatnot. We were talking. And it so happens that I almost got attacked and was helped by a white man from Cape Town. So you're going to find good people in all races and bad people in all races. So what I'm trying to say is, don't put one blanket over everyone. Deal with people how you interact with them, and if you haven't interacted with people, don't talk about them. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we can talk further about the story after this over coffee. I'm still around. I'd just like to thank Sam and Josh and Kia for the for the platform, and thank you also for giving me your ear and listening to my story. Thank you.
Wow. I think that's why Sam put you at the beginning, so that you can really motivate everyone to say anything and everything that you're going to hear here today. Do not fear. There were so many things that came out for me, but I'm not going to wrap it up now. But I think one of them really is courage, right? It's about courage, it's about getting started, it's about really never ever giving up. you know, and really always believing in yourself. I'm not going to waste any further time. There's so many phenomenal people that we are here to hear today. But thank you so much, Lindsay, for your inspirational story. It resonates so much, you know. Can I please introduce to you Ms. Faye Shao, who's coming to speak to us next. She is the founder of Tanzanite Sunset, a Pan-African entrepreneur from Tanzania. Please can I visit your home in Tanzania? We'll talk about it later after the site. It's one of my bucket lists and I haven't been there. She does business between Eastern and Southern Africa. Ms. Shao obtained her bachelor's of administrator and her MBA from the Mzumba University, as well as quality management system auditor or lead auditor. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause to Ms. Shao.
All right, with all protocol observed, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, good morning. Good morning. She has already introduced me, I'm just going to pick from her. She said you should not shorten your name. So my name is Faye Nicholas Shao. So every time when I have to introduce myself, people will be like, Nicholas, why Nicholas? So in Tanzania, I mean, it's like have been said that the child belongs to the father. So you don't just say Faye Shao. Shao is my clan name, but Faye from which son of Shao? So my name is Faye Nicholas Shao. Wow. I'm so honored to be here today to celebrate the life well lived of the global icon, Tata Nelson Mandela. What I would like you to pick from all the conversation that you're going to have today is that your dream is valid. And me being in South Africa, it's a dream come true. I had a dream to be here in South Africa. I had a dream to work across Africa. That's why I consider myself as a Pan-African entrepreneur. Today, I'm supposed to talk about sorry, the projector is not working. Yeah, I'm supposed to talk about education, youth, and women entrepreneurship as a tool for social and economic transformation. And I'm going to focus more on Africa. And the main agenda for this conversation today is to inspire possibility. I'm just going to give you a quick example of what I'm wearing now. The possibilities are endless for African to work as partners. I have my natural hair. It doesn't make me better than anyone who has a weave because it's just a style. I use Afro-Botanic. Hello. Yeah, I use Afro-Botanic. This is South African made product. It was founded by the lady from Nelspruit. I think you've heard, you all know Pearl Thusi, right? Yes. But she just have a product line from this brand. So, and I don't know if everyone can see me. Oh, I have to stay here. Okay, it's off again. Yeah, so I'm wearing socks. These are also South African brand, Skin School socks. I think you've heard about that. And another thing is, they are inspired by Ndebele patterns. So this tells you that in this era, when you're coming up with a brand or the product or service, it's not about what you want to showcase to the world. It's about what does the client need. So the most important thing that you have to realize is that you have to come up with customer-oriented products. I'm wearing this two-piece. It was crafted and made in my studio. So you can see that we are living in a very interesting times whereby local consumption is the key drive of Africa economy. And that's the reason why it is very important to invest on the youth and women, because we find women mostly in the service industry. If you look at the statistics, it says currently service takes a big percent of Africa GDP compared to manufacturing.
So the first part of my talk is talking to young people, right? You live in the age, what I call the age of the WH. The WH thought, I looked at States SA, right? And I looked at the, the population pyramid. So South Africa's population pyramid looked like a house. So I'm not the best artist, right? And what shocked me was this line here, right? 29 years and below, right, is 55+% of our population, right? So in 10 years, so if this was 10 years, right, this is gonna move up, right? So already here we're seeing an unemployment of what? Right? So this is already what? 40+% of young people that are unemployed, right? Yes? Okay. So that's the challenge, that's the context you are. If you are below the age of 30, how many of you are 29 and below? Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm going to talk to you first half of my session, and the second half, if it's boring, ignore it. Yeah. So you guys live in what I call the double-edged sword, right? You live in an age where the economy is growing at what? 0%. Massmart reported their annual, the first half of the year. They grow at 0.3%, right? So Massmart is in the top 50 companies on the JSE, right? It grows 0.3, because that's the economy, right? That's the economy. So you watch these big companies, they are not growing, right? So this is the attitude you young people need to have, right? You see that thing, I know it doesn't look interesting, right? But I am worried about young people in our country. We're not growing this economy, we need to create jobs. We need to create opportunities, right? So those opportunities need people who are ready for them. So you tell a lot of people, I was running a lucky, unenhlanhla, unesinyanya sakubo mama enzeni bamlungisele. No. No, akunasinyanya. Sinyanya uwe. So those who understand this Zulu, they probably know what I mean. So that means what? You guys need to be prepared, right? Because for every job that's there, how many of you are there? Right? So many of you have gone to school. I get CVs, and I call them, 90% of the CVs are actually put in the bin, because it's statistics. Isn't it? My name is so-and-so, my date of birth, I've got code 8, I stay wherever. Then you have a whole list of symbols, right? And all of them are B's and C's, and they look good, right? Yesterday, actually, at an exco, and I fired an accountant whose CV 3 months ago looked so brilliant. I said to my guys, it's just too good to be true. What turned out to be, he had the academic qualification, but the challenges and problems we've assigned him to, he cannot deal with. Okay? So what am I saying to young people? Those below the age of 20, you probably are studying, or you have studied, or not standard 8 or 9 or 10 or 11. Quickly as possible, go and find a job to give you life experience. Yes? Yes. Because if your CV comes to my table and all it has symbols and statistics about you, there are too many of those CVs around. So you ask the CEO that will speak to you today, there are too many of those around. Okay? So, some of you are probably wondering, who am I? And they see my surname and say, what is he going to tell us? So my story is that I came to Joburg in I came to Joburg in 1993, 94, after finishing my study at UCT. And I came with a suitcase, nothing else, right? And this guy just inspired me. Lindsay, you're awesome, man. You got a life story of not. He has a life story of not. And if this country had just 1% of Lindsays, We are already going somewhere. So Lindsay, please keep spreading the news. I know sometimes you meet, you go to talk and you only talk to 10 people. You know what? Plant the seed, brother. Plant the seed. Because we need the people like you. So I'm a little bit of story of Lindsay in different ways. But it's not about me. So I came here with a suitcase. I went to UCT, and then I was supposed to study for 3 years. I said, I went to the dean. I said, no, this is too long. I don't have enough money for this. Right? So I did my studies in, I think, a year and a bit, as long as I could finish, right? And I can tell you I've done MBA plus, but I've never graduated. You know, the certificate, I've never seen it, because it didn't matter. Right? My point is, it's not people, when they employ you, they're not looking for your CV and what you have on paper, right? So when you show up, you need to show up in full, right? So when I show up in full, I'm saying, I walked in here about half an hour before I was supposed to speak. Why? Because I wanted to check the scene, right? But many of you having coffee. How many of you connected with more than 5 people you've never talked to? How many? Right?
Myself, Emmanuel, and Sam, and we were all just sitting there with our, Emmanuel Bonoko and Sam, we were just sitting there with our headsets. And every time she'd say something, we would look at each other and go, did you hear? She's an amazing woman. She holds a BA Economics from Rutgers University, USA, and an MBA from De Montfort University in Leicester, in UK. Ms. Mahanyela completed the Kennedy School of Government Executive Education Program, Global Leadership and Public Policy for the 21st Century at Harvard University. Yeah, like what? No, Harvard, like, yeah, that Harvard, yeah, that one. And she's not like she was born there. She was born here in South Africa. And she completed it in Harvard. Phuthi Mahanyela is the executive chairperson of Sigma Capital, an investment holding company. She's the former CEO of the Shanduka Group, an investment holding company she joined in 2004 and left in 2015. Prior to that, she was the head of Project Finance South Africa Business Unit at the Development Bank of Southern Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, when I think of her, I think, wow. W-O-W, woman of wealth, woman of wisdom, and woman of worth. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Ms. Phuthi Mahanyela. I think we can continue clapping until she grabs the mic, yeah?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sibusiso. It's amazing being here and just listening. It's just honestly been incredible. I need to say this name properly. That's why I'm looking at it. Gyatlaretsi.
Yes.
I had to make sure so that I don't get it wrong. Really, it's been awesome being here. It's really incredible. Listening to all the speakers, I mean, unbelievable. You know, Faye, you know, and Isaac, and yourself, Lindsay, brilliant. I mean, I was sitting here just taking notes, mental notes, and, you know, honestly, I even forgot what I'm supposed to be saying myself. Thank goodness I have a presentation. But I'd like to hear what you guys have learned. What have you guys learned? What stuck with you? Because, I mean, we're not here, we're not in a classroom. You know, we here, we all have missions, we've got plans, we've got things that we want to accomplish. What has stood out for you? Go ahead.
What Faye said, the way you behave in the boardroom shows how you raise, and you don't need to be less human.
Yes.
And I found that a lot of times people are stabbing each other in the back to get that deal.
Right. Excellent, excellent. And yourself?
Always come prepared.
Always come prepared. And what's your name? Okay, okay, wonderful. Always the lady behind there. No, yourself, yeah.
You are the company you keep.
You're the company, yeah. You get that it is daughter?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The whole hanging around certain people is very
Yes, yeah. Don't you just love this? She came with her children, and her children have enough confidence to be able to communicate as, I mean, I'm standing here and I'm thinking, No. Maybe it's not the child that I thought she is. I mean, I really love what you're doing. You know, yeah, this is true personnel development, and that's what it's about. So thank you for that. Sure. Learned so much as well. It's really been an incredible morning. But what I can share with you is the fact that I think what has mostly shaped me is the fact that I come from a family of dreamers. You know, if you hear what everybody's been speaking about, it's about taking the impossible, what appears impossible, and making it into a possibility. That which you don't see, which doesn't seem possible, you bring it into being. That's the family I was brought up in. And I saw it, it wasn't just, you know, sometimes our parents will tell us something. It's different from when they do it themselves. And so what I learned from that time was seeing how my father, having gone from being uneducated and having, you know, odd jobs here and there, and, you know, he was speaking to his friends who he would tell, you know, why don't we try and see if we can study and do this, and his friends would say, hey man, Nebra, if you stay in this job, in like about 5 years, you'll be a supervisor. Do you know a supervisor? You don't have to catch a bus, catch a taxi, you know? And that was big for them. But he wanted more. And you know, sometimes you are dreaming of something so much more, but it doesn't seem possible. And when you talk to your friends, it's almost as if, yeah, you're dreaming a bit too much. Ne? So, you know, but I believe, having seen what I have seen and having learned all that I have learned, that we are all here for a purpose. We're not here just to breathe. We're all here for a specific purpose. But you know what differentiates us? What differentiates us is that ability to make it real. Because to make it real takes guts. If you heard what Isaac said, it's about having that ability, that gut, to do that which seems impossible. And so I had the privilege of learning this from my own father. He was uneducated, but he decided he was going to get an education. He went from being just an admin person in an organization and, you know, working odd jobs, to going and getting himself a bursary. And guys, this was in apartheid South Africa, back in those days. He got himself a bursary in the company he was working for, went and studied in London, went to the London School of Economics and did his bachelor's degree. And then he did his master's degree, and then lastly, you know, much later on, he did his doctorate. But he accomplished this. He came, when he was back in South Africa, he went and he negotiated with that, you know, government, that apartheid government. He negotiated with them, bought an asset from them. You know, I'm telling you these things because that which appears impossible can be made possible. If you just keep your vision on it and you focus on it, you can make it happen. I don't care what age you are. I don't care whether you are black, white, whatever. I don't care if you can walk, aided or unaided. I don't care if you can see me or not see me. I don't care if you can hear me or not hear me. The fact that you are here in this earth is because you are here for a purpose. Now the difference is, do you have the courage that it takes to make it happen? Do you? Do you? Do you? Do you? So for me, my life has been about that. It's been about bringing that which appears impossible and making it possible. You know, and as I say this, when you look at something like that plant growing in the middle of concrete, that's what it's about. I mean, why would you expect something to grow out of that concrete place? But sometimes for you to break out into the person that you are supposed to be, sometimes you have to break out through that concrete. You have to break out through those rooftops which appear impossible. You know, we have so many opportunities today. Guys, can I tell you, in this country, in spite of all the things that you read in the media, there are so many opportunities for people who have their mind on it. We have so many financial institutions that we can go to, who can support us. And I'm not even talking in the private sector, just looking at the public sector. You know, sometimes you have to be able to look, not see all the other stuff that we read about, and just be focused on your purpose. You know, and to go to an institution and tell yourself, just like you heard earlier, that you're going to raise this capital. He made it possible. Why can't you have a group of people in your hotel? If Isaac can make it possible, why can't you make it possible? Now, we started this just in 2009, so it wasn't so long ago. But what we have done is that we have created, and the business is focused on incubating entrepreneurs. So they take entrepreneurs on a 3-year period, they incubate them and help them to develop their ideas into businesses that can generate revenue, profitability, and employ sufficient numbers of people. And so we have been running with this, and in all the years since 2009 that we've been running this, the businesses that have been able to come out of Shanduka Black Umbrellas are today producing a turnover of just over 1.7 billion rand. These are businesses that didn't exist. They didn't exist. But it was people who had ideas, and they came and they focused. And you know, what we've been seeing with the entrepreneurs coming into the Shanduka Black Umbrellas, and there are many entrepreneurship programs around in the country. And that's why I say to you, there are so many opportunities in this country. And so you've got to make use of it, you know, whilst you are here, make use of the opportunities. But what we have seen is that, you know, it's not only people who are unemployed who are looking to become entrepreneurs. It's not only people who just have an idea, but it's people who are also leaving corporates, who are saying, you know, yes, I know I'm employed here, I have a great job, but I actually have this great idea and I actually believe in it. But the important thing is to remain committed, more than anything, because what often happens is that people have an idea, they think about this idea, but they don't, you know, the minute there's a problem, they don't get paid on this, or, you know, they leave it and they go back to the job, you know. But if you believe in something, you have to stick it out through the difficult times.